Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is probably one of the most exciting videos I've ever made, and that is because I have a ring on my finger. What? I literally still can't even believe that this has happened. It was about 2 weeks ago that I announced the engagement on my Instagram, and so many of you guys were just so supportive of it, and you just wanted to know everything about how it happened, what went down, like the lead up to it. You had so many questions, so I thought I would sit down and do a full-on story time for you and try and let you in on how it all happened from my point of view and just the experience that I had, because it was literally one of the best days of my life, and I want to share that with you guys. And I also want to have this video as like a memory for myself to come back and watch as well. So I am going to pretty much go into full detail about the entire lead up to the engagement as well as the engagement, and then at the end I answer a few of your questions from Instagram just about like wedding planning and stuff like that. So super exciting. I cannot believe I'm freaking engaged. It still just feels so surreal. It did take me a couple of weeks to sit down and film this, which I explain that in the story time. But basically, I'm just gonna be sitting down, doing my makeup, trying a bunch of new products. I tried to talk about the makeup in between talking about the engagement and wedding stuff. So hopefully you guys, if you're interested in the makeup side of it, hopefully you guys still get out of it what you want. But before we get into that, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. It helps out my channel so much. And don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already. And without further ado, actually, I would recommend going and grabbing a snack, because this video is probably going to be a long one. I talked and rambled about a lot. I feel like I had a lot to fill you guys in on, so this is a long video. So get yourself prepared, get comfy, get a snack, grab a drink, because you're in for the long haul here. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into the video. So I am going to start with the new Benefit Professional Hydrate Primer. I do like the other professional primers, so I feel like I'm pretty much going to like this one as well, but we'll see how we go. All right. Honestly, I have no idea where to even start. So basically about 2.5 weeks ago now, actually I feel like I need to give you guys more of a backstory. This engagement has been, like, the year leading up from my point of view has been pretty difficult, I'm not gonna lie. So Ben and I have been together for nearly 9 years, and everyone around us, family, friends, people that barely even knew us but just knew that we'd been together for so long. A lot of you guys had also been asking me questions about when are you and Ben gonna get married? Is Ben gonna propose anytime soon? What's going on? You've been together for so long. What is happening? And I gotta be completely honest with you, it really took a toll on my mental health, because it's it was one of those things where, that was really nice, by the way. My face feels very hydrated. It's kind of got the same feel as the other professionals, but my skin just feels really hydrated. So anyways, it really took a toll on my mental health, and I really struggled every single time someone asked me, because I was like, what am I supposed to say? I obviously really want to marry Ben, and we'd always kind of known that we were going to be our forever people. I always knew that I was going to marry Ben one day, but I was never going to be that person that applied pressure to him. Marriage is a massive decision, and I think both parties involved need to be just as sure of the marriage and the commitment as the other person. So I never wanted to pressure Ben into proposing to me or anything like that. I wanted him to do it when he felt it was the right timing and when he felt 110% sure that that's what he wanted to do. So when people were constantly asking me and constantly just being what do you mean? You guys have been together for so long. Why aren't you engaged yet? Blah, blah, blah. All of our friends around us over the last 1.5 to 2 years have been getting engaged and have been getting married. And not that it's in any way a competition, but Ben and I, out of our friendship group, have been together for the longest time. And so having everyone else around us getting engaged, and even all of those people were like, Erin, what's going on? You of all people should be getting engaged and you're not. It was just it was a lot. It was a really emotional full-on time, because my response to them constantly had to just be oh, I don't know, whenever Ben's ready. And I kind of had to suppress my emotions and my opinion on it. And like, I half the time wish I could have just sat there and been like, you fucking tell me. Like, I'm just trying to be patient. I have no control over it. I don't want to pressure Ben, but at the same time, I'm like, I really want to marry this guy. So yeah, I am really like getting impatient and wanting to know when the hell it's going to happen. So yeah, it was a very strange thing, and it kind of was getting to the point where I was just sick of people asking me about it. Every single time someone new brought it up, it was like reminding me all over again that I wasn't engaged and that Ben hadn't proposed, and it's just kind of hard to like hear and constantly be reminded of that. So by the way, I'm going in with the Smashbox Studio Skin Full Coverage 24-Hour Foundation. I'm pretty sure it's way too dark for me, but as always, I'm just going to make it work. So yeah, the last year and a half, to say the least, has been a very frustrating year and a half for me. Just trying to like hide the fact that I was super emotional every time someone asked me, or like try and hide the fact that, you know, I really wanted it to happen, but I didn't in any way want to put pressure on Ben or make him feel like I was applying pressure. So, you know, I barely spoke about it with him. He knew that I was probably ready, and he knew that, you know, we were going to get married one day, but I didn't want to sit there and say to him, like, when are you going to propose? Like, what's going on? Like, we need to get married now, like, blah, blah, blah. I'm just not that kind of person, and I never wanted that to be a reason behind why he proposed. That's a bit of a backstory. And then I guess from Ben's point of view, he had been planning this thing for a year and a half. I am just still even saying that out loud. I'm so shocked by that, because he, in the last year and a half, made me feel like he was not even considering marriage anytime soon at all. Like, he kept it that much of a secret that he had convinced me marriage wasn't even on the cards anytime soon. Wow, this is oxidizing so much. I'm about to look like an Oompa Loompa. But the coverage is insane. Like, hello. Wow. Anyway, so we moved up to Brisbane about 2 years ago, and he started at a new job, and he had a 6-month probation for that job, which is pretty common. Like, most jobs have a 3 to 6 month probation. So at his previous job down south, he was a supervisor down there, which is basically like a step up from just like a standard tradie in his field of work. And so when he started at this new job, he had to just go back down to like a normal tradie position. But he had made it pretty clear to the company that he was working for and his bosses that he really wanted to become a supervisor, because that's what he had been doing down south. But he had to wait until his 6-month probation was up until he could kind of get that promotion and kind of say to them, like, I want to step up and be a supervisor here. So anyways, 6 months down the track, his probation finished, and he came home one day and said to me that he had organized a meeting with his boss to talk about this promotion and to talk about whether or not it was on the cards for him and all this stuff. And I was like, that's great. Like, Ben's a really hard worker, and he always has been. And so when it comes to stuff like this, you know, he's really motivated and he really just wants to do good at his job. And so for the weeks after that, I was kind of like asking him and following up and being like, so like, have you had that meeting with your boss? Like, have you spoken to your boss? Like, what's happening? Are you getting a promotion? Like, what did he say? Blah, blah, blah. And Ben kind of just kept brushing it off and being like, oh no, they're mucking around with this, or they're saying this and that and blah, blah, blah. They're saying I have to wait until this happens. And he just kept coming home with all of these random excuses. And I was like, okay, like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what job title he has as long as he's happy in his job. Like, it didn't really matter. It was just that he had mentioned to me that that's what he wanted to do. So I kept asking him about it. And then it just got to a point where I was like, I'm going to stop asking, because I could tell that he seemed like he was getting a bit frustrated by it. So I was like, I'm going to drop it when he's ready. When he gets the promotion, I'm sure he'll tell me. That's it. Well, little did I know. Ben actually got the promotion once he finished his 6-month probation. He just didn't tell me because and this still is like so shocking to say out loud. He opened up a secret bank account. All of our bank accounts are joined. So for him to like save money or put money away or make any purchases, he had to have made a completely secret separate bank account, which he did. And then he asked his work to transfer the amount of his pay that he was getting as a pay rise for this promotion, to transfer that balance into this secret account so that he could slowly start saving up for an engagement ring for me. So that was about a year and a half ago, and that explains so much of why, when I was asking him about this promotion and following up on it, that he was like coming home with all these weird answers and telling me that like it just wasn't happening. And he basically hid this promotion from me for a year and a half, because if he told me, he would have had to tell me where that extra money was going, and he would have had to explain that. So we also have a lot of friends that he works with that we see frequently, and he had to tell them that they weren't allowed to tell me about the promotion. Like, all his workmates knew that this is what he was doing, and that they couldn't bring up around me that he was a supervisor at work. They were all in on it, basically, which is pretty cool. So basically I've been lied to for the last year and a half, but for the best reason ever and the best outcome ever. All right, little update on this foundation. It is freaking incredible. Wow, super full coverage. So I'm feeling a little bit like right now, but it is lightweight. It's just I haven't worn a full coverage foundation like this in a very long time. So yeah, essentially Ben just spent the next year and a half saving his little butt off, and his savings slowly grew as that pay went into his account. Wow, this is going to be really light on me. I was going to try out this concealer from Colourpop. This is the no filter concealer, but I think it's going to be pretty light. We'll see how we go. There was one point where I got a little bit sus and weird about where his money was going, because he came home one day and told me about a bonus that he was getting at work. And this bonus was supposed to be a certain amount of money. And he was like, just telling me about it because obviously I would see that money come into the account and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the money ended up coming into our account, but they only ended up transferring half of it. And so I saw the money and I was like, that's weird. Ben told me it was going to be this much, but there's only this much. And so I questioned him about it and I was like, babe, they haven't given you like the amount that you should have gotten. And he was like, that's weird. I'll have to ask the pay lady about it. Like, that's super weird. Oh my gosh, like so strange. And I was like, yeah, that is really odd. And then the next couple of days he was at work and I kept asking him, like, have you asked, the pay lady about what has happened with your bonus money? And he was like, oh no, I keep forgetting. And then I kept asking because I'm just a naggy biatch of a girlfriend. I'm like, what's going on? Where's your money? And anyway, he ended up saying to me that they somehow got bank accounts confused and transferred half of his bonus into his old bank account from when he was like employed by the same company, but like 6 years earlier. And I was like, that's weird. Like, why do they even still have that bank account on record? Like, it was just a very strange excuse. And I remember thinking at the time, I'm like, this doesn't sound right. Like, that's a very strange thing to happen when, he's been working there now for like a year and they've never messed up his pay ever. And then all of a sudden they have this other random bank account from like 6 years ago on record that they've accidentally transferred money to. Like, huh? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I didn't question him. I was just like, okay, if that's what happened, that's what happened. But in the back of my mind, I was sitting there thinking like, he's doing something weird. Like, this isn't right. Something weird is happening. And honestly, the thought lasted for like a few days. And then I was that convinced marriage wasn't even on the cards anytime soon, that any little thought that I had like that, it was just out the window a couple of days later. And I was like, Ben wouldn't lie to me. That's just how it is. Like, we're very open with each other. We don't hide anything. So I don't know. I just left it at that. But I guess now in hindsight, now that I know everything, all of those little things that I'd been noticing, it's all making sense now. There were a couple of other times where he said his workmates slipped up. And he thought for sure that I would have noticed and like questioned it. We went camping for his birthday in July last year, and one of his workmates apparently said something to Ben about like, oh yeah, is that what a supervisor does? Or is like just made a little joke saying something about how he was a supervisor at work. And apparently when Ben heard it, he was like, oh my God, like Erin's right there. Meanwhile, I'm standing there having no clue. Like I don't even recall that moment happening. So I was oblivious to it, but Ben said he kind of crapped himself and was like, you've just blown it. So there was a couple of other times as well, apparently, where things like that happened. But me just being super oblivious and super unaware of what was actually happening, I picked up on none of these little hints that could have given it away. Anyways, fast forward to about 3 months ago, and I'd kind of gotten to the point where I was like, right, we've been together for 8.5 years. Surely he is at least thinking about proposing. Like, surely it's on his mind. And I was like, maybe he's just really nervous and doesn't know where to start. Like, it must be really hard for guys in this situation to sit there and go, you know what, I'm going to propose to my girlfriend, and then have to try and figure out what kind of ring they would like without, you know, ruining the surprise by asking the girlfriend and all of this stuff. So I was like, right, I'd had everyone in my life tell me, you need to go and find a ring and tell us what ring you like, so that in case he asks us, you know, we can tell him what ring you want. And I was like, that's weird though. Like, I don't want to go and look at engagement rings and look like a bit of an idiot going and being like, oh, I think my boyfriend's going to propose soon. Like, so I'm just looking at engagement rings. I just didn't want to be that person. Eventually, I did get to a point where I was just like, you know what? It has to be happening soon, surely. And so 3 months ago, I started looking at engagement rings. You guys know my best friend Mel. Her and I started going and looking at jewelry stores and trying on different engagement rings and just seeing what kind of rings I liked. Guys, this video is going to be long. I just looked at the time. It's already at 20 minutes. Wow. Anyway, so I ended up finding a ring that I really, really liked, and it was a pear-shaped diamond, which I never thought I would be into pear, but I guess until you put it on your finger and you try it on and see how it looks on you, you never really know. So it did definitely help going into the jewelry stores and actually trying rings on, because what I had in my mind, I didn't like on my finger. And then what I thought I wouldn't like, I actually liked on my finger. So I'm really glad that I did start going and actually looking. I think there was about 3 occasions when I went and looked at engagement rings, and I ended up finding a different ring every single time. The second time I went looking, I actually went with Ben's mum, because she was one of the main people in our lives that were like saying to us, like, what is going on? Like, you guys need to get engaged. Like, she was nagging Ben. She was putting a bit of pressure on Ben. And so one day we were out in the city together. We were just having like a girls' day. And I said to her, like, I've been looking at engagement rings and I would really like to have a look at some more, because I feel like there's a chance I might not have seen some, or like, you know, I might have missed some that I might really like. And she was obviously very excited for that. So little did I know, she was messaging Ben at the time and was sending through pictures of the rings that I liked. She was very sneaky about this. I had no idea that that was happening. We had agreed that like she would take photos of the rings so that if Ben got to a point where he was ready and he asked his mum could then say like, these are the rings that Erin likes. But I didn't know she was just automatically sending them through to him. So anyways, the next day I ended up going a third time to look at engagement rings, and I ended up finding the one that I loved 10 times more than any others I'd seen, and that's this one here. I tried it on and I was like, yep, that's the one. So then I had to kind of message Ben's mum and be like, look, any of the ones that you took a photo of yesterday, I kind of prefer this one now. So she had the updated photo of the ring. She knew which one I wanted, and I guess she, again, just sent that straight through to Ben without me knowing. So this whole time, like, Ben and I never really spoke about it. Like, we spoke about marriage and we talk about kids all the time, but I never said to him, like, when are you going to propose? Like, I've been looking at rings. Like, I didn't want him to know that I'd been looking at rings, because I guess, I don't know, I felt like that would be added pressure for him. But, you know, we would always talk about the fact that we were going to be married one day. Like, it was never a secret. It was just that I didn't know what his plans were in terms of timing and stuff. All right, now that I've given you guys the backstory, I guess I can tell you now about how it all went down. So basically, we had organised to go camping for the Australia Day long weekend with some of our friends. And when Ben first called me a couple of weeks earlier to ask if I'd be keen to go camping, I was like, oh, you know, we really shouldn't. Like, we need to save our money. I just wasn't like super keen. I was like, we could go for a day trip to visit everyone, but I don't know if I want to stay, because it was going to cost us like about $200 for the weekend. And, you know, I said I feel like we shouldn't be spending that money right now. And he was like, Erin, forget about it. Like, we'll just go. Money doesn't matter. Like, we'll just go. And I was like, that's weird, because usually like he'd be the same as me. He'd be on board and be wanting to save money. And so he was just being kind of pushy about it and saying like, no, we're going to go camping. I'm going to make it work. Like, he basically said to me, like, stop being like that. We're going, and we're going camping with our friends. Like, why don't you want to do that? And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I do want to do it, but I was just worried about money, but like, okay. So he ended up agreeing with a couple of our friends that we were going to share like a campsite to help pay for it and to like reduce the cost for us. And so then he came back, and that's how he pitched it to me. And he was like, it's not going to cost as much as you think, because now these people are going to share the campsite and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, cool. And he was just being like really pushy with it and making sure that like we were going camping. And I didn't think anything of it, because Ben just loves to have a good time with friends. And so I was like, he's just wanting to have a good Australia Day long weekend. No, little did I know it was because he was planning to propose to me that weekend. So yeah, Australia Day long weekend comes around, and the morning of, he was being really, really like lovey, and he was just really like giddy and happy and stuff, but that's not like unusual for Ben. Like, Ben's just a really silly, fun, happy person all the time. So for him to be like that, I was like, oh, he's just in a really good mood. And then when we got to the campsite, we like set up our campsite and stuff, and I was not in the best mood. I was just a little bit stressed because it was raining, and like we were trying to set up our campsite, and we had Cooper there, and we had to keep Cooper on a lead, and I just felt really bad that he was on a lead, and like I was just getting a bit like anxious, and I don't know, my mind was going a bit crazy. So poor Ben, like I probably snapped at him a few times and stuff, and he was just being, sorry, that was my phone. He was being really patient with me. He didn't snap back at me or anything. Like, it was all just super fine. He was really chill. And then he said to me, like, do you want some drinks? Like, we haven't got you any drinks for the weekend. And I was like, oh yeah, like we'll go up to the Bottle-O if you want. And he was like, no, it's fine. I can go up with like the boys. I'll go up and get you something. What do you want? And I was like, well, I don't know what I want. So like, I'll come with you so that I can see what the bottle shop has there, and I can decide what I want there. And he was like, no, it's fine. I know what you like. So I'll just give you a call when I get there and let you know. And I'm like, why can't I freaking just come with you? But like, he was just really determined that I was going to stay at the campsite and that he was going to go to the bottle shop by himself with like all our guy mates. And so I was like, all right, whatever, just call me when you get there then and tell me what my options are. So he went up to the bottle shop, and little did I know, the reason he didn't want me to come is because he was about to tell all of our like best mates that he was planning on proposing that night. All of our best mates are all boys that I went to school with. They're all like my brothers, and I've known them for longer than Ben has. But Ben just like, ever since we started dating, Ben just clicked with all of them, and they've all been best friends since then. And it's been really nice because we're just like one little close-knit tight family rather than friends. Like, we actually call them our family, not just friends. So it was really important, I think, for Ben to be able to like tell them in advance, and kind of, he was excited, I guess, and he really just wanted to tell them what he was planning on doing. And you know, they were all very excited as well. They all did very well. They kept it a secret, and I had no idea. Like, none of them blew it in between them getting back from the bottle shop and the actual proposal. Like, they all hit it extremely well. By the way, guys, I just bronzed with the Colourpop Pressed Powder Private Party bronzer, and I am loving it. I really like how that looks. I'm not used to being this tanned on my face. Like, the foundation shade is when I'm like freshly fake tanned, that's when it would match me, and I haven't been that tanned in a while, so I'm like looking in the viewfinder, I'm like, who is she? But I do really like how it's looking. All right, I promise you guys we are getting to the exciting part now. I'm going to do my blush, and I'm going to use the Colourpop Enchanted Mirror Pressed Powder Blush. This is actually part of the Disney designer collection, and we've got little Princess Belle on the front, super cute. So that night we were all sitting around the campsite just with our friends, and it was kind of like, I think it was about 9:30 at night, and we were all sitting there playing this drinking game, and it's basically like a deck of cards. Essentially, you just pass the cards around the group, and you pick up the next card, and that card will say like, whoever has the most photos on their camera roll has to take a sip of their drink. And then another one would be like, the last person that got up to go to the toilet, take a sip. So it's like silly things like that, and it's basically just to like keep the night interesting. And anyways, we were playing that, and we'd been playing it for about half an hour already. By the way, that blush is really cute. like really, really cute. So Ben and our friend Ryan got up to go back to our campsite because we were at another friend's campsite then. They got up to go back to our campsite to go and get themselves some more beers. They returned and Ben was sitting across the campsite for me, so I saw him come back with like a bunch of beers in his hands and I was like, oh yeah, cool, like whatever, they're back, let's keep playing. Another round goes by and then all of a sudden it's Ben's turn, and I saw our friend Ryan stand up and go and stand over near like the corner of the caravan away from the group kind of, and I said to him, I was like, Ryan, like, are you right?
I need some air. I've been sitting around where it's a little bit warm.
Are you having a break, are you?
And I need some oxygen into me, alright?
And I was like, righto, okay. Didn't think anything of it. Little did I know he was standing up so that he could get a really good view and video the entire thing that was about to go down. Of all the people that could have noticed him standing up and being weird, it was me. But yet, even when he responded, I was just like, okay, whatever. Ryan's just getting some air. Cool. So it was then Ben's turn in this round, and I kid you not, like this could not have gone any better for him, right? So it was his turn. He got past the deck of cards and he picked up the card. This still blows my mind, but the card that he picked up said, pick the person that you trust the most and make them take a sip of their drink. That was the round that he was planning on proposing, and he picked up that card by chance. So he just went with it, and he stood up out of his chair, and I thought that was weird because I was like, no one else has stood up to like say their round or when it was their turn.
Simon says, pick the person you trust the most, you love the most, and you want them to marry you. What?
Wait, what? Sorry, what?
So what?
Wait, what?
Holy that again.
Shit!
Yeah!
Oh.
Holy crap. Are you being serious or are you joking? I feel like
I thought it was a card! I thought it was a card!
Congratulations!
Yeah, I was like, what?
He's done a pretty good job. That looks legit, like a box and everything that it came with.
You played that off so legit.
Books of cards? Yeah.
I mean, I was ready to drink. Can I propose a toast to the two happiest people of the night, to Ben and Erin?
Cheers, brother!
You know, I always have these like, I'd always had this idea in my mind that like the proposal was going to be so cute and like straight away I was just going to be like, yes, of course. But because I was so shocked, I literally sat there and I was like, are you being serious? This isn't a prank, is it? Like, I was just so confused and I was so convinced that this wasn't even on the cards yet. Like, he kept it such a secret that by the time it happened, I was that genuinely confused that it was happening because I just did not expect he'd even been thinking about marriage. It sounds really horrible, but in the moment I was just so shocked. I was like really struggling to believe that that was my reality right then and there. And he kept saying to me, he's like, Erin, I'm serious. Like, I'm being serious. Will you marry me? My brain wasn't working. My words weren't working. Like, I was just so shocked and so happy and so, I don't even know how to explain the emotions that I was going through. I never expected Ben to be able to pull off such a massive surprise, to be honest, because I'm a really nosy bitch. I am the hardest person to surprise in the world. Ben's never been able to pull off a surprise ever with me. I usually am like very aware of what's going on and what's happening. So for this to just happen without me having any idea, he pulled it off so well, and he did it in front of all of our closest friends that we consider family, and that was just so special to me that he wanted to be so vulnerable and to have that moment in front of those people. Like, he wanted to share that with them and show his love for me in front of all of them, and that was just like, honestly, like literally the best night of my life. I think a part of my shock was the fact that like he proposed to me with the ring that only 3 weeks earlier I had found, and knew that I was like, that was the ring that I wanted. But I was so confused about how he knew and how he had time to go and get that ring, and like just everything was perfect. I was just so confused about how it had all come to that moment. I cannot wait to marry him, and I just feel very excited for what's to come. Ben and I basically that night literally got like 2 hours sleep because we were just up all night talking, and he was telling me everything about the lead up to the engagement. It was like he had just had this weight lifted off his shoulders, where he's been keeping secrets from me for the past year and a half, and all of a sudden there was just so much we could talk about and so much he could tell me, and I wish I could just like relive it all over again. Very, very happy right now, as you can probably tell. I've been on like cloud 9 for the past 2.5 weeks. I actually had to, if you watch my vlog channel, you would know that I had to take my ring in to get it resized because it was way too big for my finger. The ring was literally just sliding off my finger. So I haven't had it with me for the last 2 weeks. I literally had the ring for about 4 days and then took it into a jewelry store to get it resized, and it took 7 to 10 business days, which ended up being about 2 weeks. And I just got it back yesterday, which is part of the reason why it took me a bit to film this video, because I felt a little bit weird filming it without having like my engagement ring on my finger. I don't know, that's probably super dramatic, but that's just how I was feeling. I was like, if I'm gonna sit down and make a story time about my engagement, I want the damn ring on my finger. All right, so I'm gonna do my eyeshadow with the ColourPop Nude Mood palette. It looks really, really pretty. It's got some really nice, warm, neutral tones in there. As always, I have absolutely no idea what this makeup look is going to end up like, but we'll just wing it. We'll see how we go. So before I sat down to film this video, I actually asked you guys on Instagram to ask me any questions that you want to know specifically about the engagement or about our wedding planning or just about Ben and I in general, our relationship, anything to do with me and Ben basically. So while I do my eyeshadow, I'm going to go through some of those questions and answer them. Obviously, if I've already touched on it in like that little story time portion, I won't waste your time. So the first question is, have you guys been together consistently, or have you ever had a break or a small breakup? We have pretty much been together consistently. There was a time in our lives at about like the 5-year mark in our relationship where there was just like a massive shift in his life happening, and we broke up, if you can even call it that. Honestly, I don't know that you'd even count it as a breakup because it literally lasted like less than 12 hours. It was at night and we were on the phone and things were just like, things were really rocky. Essentially, we both mutually agreed that we probably needed to have a break and that things just weren't working how they were. And then literally the next morning, so I think we got off the phone at like 11 p.m. and he called me at like 5 a.m. the next morning and he was like, I don't want to do life without you. He's like, I don't know how I'm going to make this work, but I'm going to make this work. All I know is that I want you in my life. And then we were back together and everything was fine. So that was like a small break that we had. Other than that, I wouldn't say it's been smooth sailing either. Like every relationship has its ups and downs. And for a lot of our relationship, Ben and I have lived apart from each other, and that has been really difficult. If any of you guys have ever done long distance, you would know how hard that can be. So we've definitely had many ups and downs, but I feel like the last 3 years for us have been like a massive, or even the last 4 years, that's been like pretty smooth sailing for us. I think we just got to a point where we knew that, you know, I knew Ben was going to be my forever person, and he probably, I guess, knew the same thing. And I guess like we just kind of decided that no matter what life threw at us, we would just handle it, and we would handle it together, and we have. So yeah, we've definitely had our ups and downs, but it's all led us to where we are today, and I could not be happier and more grateful for everything that we've experienced together. So the next question is, when did you know you wanted to marry Ben or spend the rest of your life with him? I feel like it's so funny because Ben and I have asked each other this question since getting engaged. Like we were laying in bed one night and we were just talking about it, and he said to me, he was like, when did you know that you wanted to marry me? And I was like, I don't know, like I just did. Like there was never a specific time where I was like, ding, I'm gonna marry this guy. I guess it just like happened gradually, and you know, things in life happen and all of a sudden you move in together and you know that starts going really smoothly, and then all of a sudden you like get a dog and you're like, wow, this is pretty cool, like we have our own dog together. And then it got to a point where, you know, we both really wanted to buy a house together, and if anything, like a house is a massive commitment. Some would say it's just as big of a commitment as marriage because you're literally signing both your lives away to a huge amount of debt. Like a mortgage is insane. At the end of the day, I never would have done any of this stuff with him. I never would have committed to buying a dog with him or committed to a mortgage with him if I couldn't see myself marrying him and being with him forever. I think for most people, it's a case of it just happens gradually. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be completely wrong, but particularly for Ben and I, it just was a very gradual thing that happened, a very natural thing, and I think we both just knew that it was time. All right, someone else has asked, is Cooper going to be a part of the wedding? Love you so much. Love you too. And yes, of course. We actually have already been looking at venues. Speaking of Cooper, he's in a mood right now. He's barking at everything. If you have been watching my vlog channel, which if you aren't subscribed to my vlog channel, you're missing out on a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I have been vlogging quite a lot lately, and a lot of our like wedding planning stuff will be on my vlog channel. I'm thinking of doing like a wedding series on there. So if you don't want to miss out on any of that, I would highly suggest subscribing to my vlog channel. I'll leave it linked down below. But yeah, so basically we started already looking at venues, and when we were considering venues and looking into venues, we are making sure that like the venue will allow Cooper to be there. Cooper is like our child. Like he is like our firstborn child. We adore him and just love him so, so much. And he is a massive part of our relationship and he is our family. So of course, we want him to be there the day that we get married. So we will be making sure that we can at least have him at the ceremony. I think a lot of venues don't allow dogs to be there for like reception and stuff because that's when like food and drinks come out and then like health and safety comes into that, which is fine. I totally get that. But I'm pretty sure, like 99.9% sure, the venue that we've found, we can have him at the ceremony. We're actually meeting with that venue on Saturday to hopefully book it in. But I've seen pictures of other people getting married at this venue and they've had their dog there. So I think it will be fine. But yes, we definitely want Cooper involved in the wedding. All right, so the next question is, will you and Ben have a traditional wedding in a church or more of a modern wedding? So from the get-go, this is something Ben and I were both on the same page with. We both want to have a more modern wedding. We aren't actually religious at all. So for us, like, there's not really any meaning behind having a wedding in a church. Sorry guys, just had a little technical difficulty, but I'm back. We will be definitely having a more modern wedding. It will not be in a church. We're actually looking for a venue where we can have the ceremony outdoors because, I don't know, Ben and I we're very much like outdoorsy people. We love to go camping and we like to spend a lot of time outdoors, so it would make sense for us to have a lot of our wedding outside. So yeah, it's definitely going to be more of a relaxed, it's not going to be a super formal wedding. We just want people to come and really, celebrate and just have fun, just enjoy themselves really. I am really liking these eyeshadows. Alrighty, so the next question is, are you wanting to have the wedding within the next year? So we're looking at actually having, wow, this is a lot more pigmented than I thought it was going to be. A little bit shook right now, but very impressed. Hold up. Let me finish this and then I will talk because this requires a bit more of my attention than I thought it did. These shadows are insane. Are you kidding me? Wow. I definitely should have used a brush to apply that so that I could be more precise with it because now I've got it all up in my crease. So the wedding at the moment, we are, like I said, we're going and looking at a venue on Saturday, and I am hoping that we're going to be booking a date on Saturday. At the moment, it's looking like it's either going to be March 2021 or August 2021 for like a few different reasons, which I won't go into, but they are just the months that we're looking at the moment. Ben's a bit worried that March is going to be a bit too hot, but depending on like a few other elements to do with the wedding, we might have to have it in March. So yeah. We're not sure yet, but definitely next year. I'm not waiting any longer because we both really want to start a family, and we both kind of agreed that at the age of 28 is when we want to start having kids. And Ben turns 28 in July next year and I turn 28 in October next year. So we really want to get the wedding over and done with before we start having kids. So that's kind of coming into the timing of it all as well. All right, I'm actually super happy with those eyeshadows. This palette, the Nude Mood palette from Colourpop, is insane. Like those foil shadows I was shook. I applied that with my finger thinking that I was going to need my finger to get like ultimate payoff. No, I should have used a brush so that I could be more precise, because that applied so well, like super pigmented. All of the mattes were super easy to blend as well. Like I really, really like that palette. All right, so for mascara today, I'm actually going to be trying out the new Fenty Full Frontal Volume Lift and Curl Mascara. I love the packaging of this. Look how cute that is. Okay, wow. This mascara is very natural. Like I'm struggling to build up volume, but not in a bad way. I feel like the more layers I add, it should be fine. Like it'll build up. Wow. I really like that. I feel like you guys won't be able to tell because my natural lashes are so straight and crappy, but that's how one eye looks. I actually really like it. I was going to do false lashes, but I actually feel like with a couple of coats of that mascara, I don't know, I kind of like the more natural look. So I might just keep with my natural lashes today. All right, so the next question is, where do you want to go for your honeymoon? Ben and I honestly haven't spoken about this yet. Like the honeymoon hasn't even really come up, other than when I was a teenager, it was like a dream of mine to go to the Greek islands. And I always used to say that the Greek islands would be somewhere I'd go for my honeymoon. Like it was just going to be that kind of a destination for me. Something that's always been on the top of my bucket list, but it was one of those special destinations where I'd want to do it for like a honeymoon or something. Anyways, very early on, I'm really struggling to get this off. Very early on in mine and Ben's relationship, I think I like jokingly said to him that if he wants to marry me one day, he has to be prepared to go to the Greek islands for our honeymoon. And I would have said it literally just as a joke because like back then I was young and it was just something I used to joke about all the time. And he actually said to me like a week after we got engaged, he was like, so do you still want to go to the Greek islands for our honeymoon? And I was like, how do you remember that? Like how do you remember that? So honestly, the Greek islands, back when I was talking about it when I was a teenager, I didn't have a concept of money and how much the Greek islands would cost for us to go to. So who knows? Who knows if the Greek islands will happen at this stage? I feel like it's probably a bit out of our budget, but never say never. We don't know. All right, so for lip liner, I'm going in with one of the new Mecca Max Pout pencil liners in the shade is called Chick. It's very creamy. It's gliding onto my lips very, very easily. All right, and for lips, I'm going in with the Colourpop Ultra Satin Liquid Lipstick in the shade Alyssa. This is actually my first time using any Colourpop makeup, guys. Crazy. I don't know how I've gone this long without trying Colourpop out. I actually just recently got put on their PR list, and up until then I'd never owned anything Colourpop, and I'm really sad about it now because I actually really liked a lot of the products that I've tried in this video. That is so comfortable on the lips, like really, really hydrating, and I really like the color too. Anyways, okay, I think that is basically everything. I feel like I've covered everything. I've answered most of the questions. I had a lot more questions, but they were like already things that I'd answered, so that is basically it. I feel like this video is probably super long, so if you have made it all the way to the end, you deserve a medal. Thank you so, so much. Make sure you give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you are still here. It really helps out my channel when you do that. If you want to stay up to date with any more of the wedding stuff, wedding planning, engagement party planning, just anything to do with that, it'll probably be all on my vlog channel. So I'll leave a link to my vlog channel down below and you can jump over there and subscribe. I film mostly just daily vlogs and behind the scenes stuff. So if you guys are interested in like lifestyle daily vlogs, then definitely head over to that channel. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I am super excited for this next chapter in my life and I cannot wait to share it all with you guys. It's gonna be a fun couple of years coming up. So if you guys haven't subscribed already, I mean, I'm hoping that you have, but if you haven't, feel free to hit the subscribe button down below and become a part of the family. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.